Hey y'all, my name is Sarah. I was recently asked by a teacher if I could share how I did some of the doodles on this particular Happy Planner spread that I shared. So I thought I would jump on, try to show you how to do a few of these, not all of them, but I'm going to do the basic ones because I think she was right. These are really cute for a teacher and they're super, super simple. And when you see how simple they are, you'll definitely want to try it. So I want to jump in, tell you what I've got, what I'm using. You don't have to use what I'm using. I'm not an artist. I'm not particular to any brand. I use the colors that I use because they worked for my family. The fact that I have boys still at home, I thought this was a cute, playful color scheme, but you pick what you're going to pick. Grab some paper. We're just going to play. These are so simple. And I love the idea of teachers using this because look how cute this would be to just oomph up a little of your stationery or notes or anything. And they're so fast and simple, especially if you already just keep a few highlighters on your desk. And you're going to hear me call these markers because it's a much easier word as a Southerner to say than highlighters. I work very hard to kind of control my Southern accent. Those two letter I's and that word drawn out turns it into an 8-syllable word for me. So I'm going to say markers, but when I'm talking about markers, I really typically am discussing highlighters of some type. You can see I'm using the Java Powerline 2500. This is so far has been a decent set of highlighters. I think it was an 18 count set and I don't remember exactly how much they cost, but I know they were really on the cheap side. I only have maybe 2 sets of markers that I would consider trendy high-end markers. I usually kind of go for the cheap side. So I will discuss markers as we go throughout my videos, but really I'm not partial to anybody. Okay, so these are the colors I'm using. You don't have to use them. However, I will suggest pick a recognizable color for your erasers. And you're going to need some kind of gray for this portion of your pencil. And since I already had it, I'm going to show you some shading too. Let's get started. I love these. They're super cute. You can see I've cheated. I've done several in a lot of different ways. I'm going to bring this in super creepy close and just let you see. Some of these are symmetrical. Some of these are very wonky and whimsical. And either which way is still cute. If you're not confident with drawing a straight line, neither am I. And you can clearly see that. And today you're going to see it even worse because I've got a little boo-boo that makes it a little hard for me to move. So you're going to see that my lines are not straight, and I'm going to intentionally make mistakes so that I can show you ways to correct them and show you that they're not a big deal. It's not going to ruin your entire spread. You can see here I've gotten some really wonky crooked lines here on this ruler, but I don't think it would ruin my entire spread. So that being said, let's jump in and play with a few markers. This is so easy. It really, gosh, it's super simple. I almost feel embarrassed showing you how simple it really is because this is going to be a one-stroke method, and I thought this was a good starting point because that single stroke method of laying your ink across your page and just kind of one stroke and not scratching your strokes over one another like we typically do when we color is a big deal when you're trying to color in your Happy Planner. I do full color spreads and do a lot of coloring on my pages without any bleed through on the back side. And it's because I've learned how to use the highlighters to my benefit. And you're going to see some of those beneficial things as we go. Because I learned that with these style markers, I'm really more capable of tricks than I know how to do with other style markers. I can't accomplish as much with maybe alcohol markers, but these, you can see as you're looking at my page, you see the marker strokes from highlighters, but we're going to use that to our benefit all the way through here. So don't freak out when you see them. And as it dries, and I mean truly dries, that that tends to fade out and the ink blends together well. So even as we're applying it, it's going to look like a hot mess a lot of times, especially as I get into more detailed doodles. It'll look like a hot mess. But don't freak out, because it eventually they dry really nicely and you get almost this watercolor effect. And for some of you that have been following me just as I share my spreads in Happy Planner group, because I like sharing them, you've seen that they do get kind of this watercolor look. So don't panic as we put the ink down. Stay calm, doodle with me. You're still going to love your end results, even if they don't look exactly like mine. I will always tell you that you will still end up with something better today than what you might have done yesterday. So let's go ahead and try this. You can see I cheated and I played. Mostly I just played. But I cheated and went ahead and put down the first strokes. Letting that first layer dry is a big deal. You're less likely, you can kind of see, you're less likely to get bleed through if you allow some dry time in between the things you do. So if you notice, I laid all the lines down with my ink, and then I'll come back and add the details. And I usually do that in my planner as well. I'll try to get the first layer of color down and move from item to item and get that ink put down, and then I go back and add more details or more color, and we'll do that as we go. But it is kind of a thing to allow a little bit of dry time. Usually I will sit my planner out and tinker with it back and forth in between other things. So I'm going to show you, this is what I'm getting started with for my pencil, but we're going to lay all these lines down and they're just going to look like lines for a minute. So I've already got a pencil laid down. If you need size, if you're one of those people and you want to know exactly, these all roughly ran in a really good scale for a Happy Planner size, and you probably could do the same doodles on smaller planners too, and it'd be really cute. Most of mine have kind of fallen within that inch to 1.25 inches. None of them are the same, but they fell somewhere within that inch to 1.25 inches, and it's a pretty good scale for your planners. It worked out for mine. So let's go ahead and lay some of these colors down. I've got this first line laid down. I'm going to jump in now with this gray color. This is mild gray. And I'm going to try to butt in right at the end of that and just do, whoops. I didn't do perfect. It's okay. It's okay. I'm going to tell you the whole way through. It's going to be okay. As a Southerner, we always say it'll come out in the wash. So it'll come out in the wash. If you don't get it perfect as we're laying it down, keep going. Don't think that you got to stop and start another one. You're going to see that's not perfect. I'm going to zoom in a little closer so you can see. Can you see that? It's bad. It's all bad. Don't freak out. I'm coming in now with my blue color because I'm going to put the ink down for my pen. And I just did the same thing. I went a little shorter, so this is probably going to be about 3/4 of an inch. Just something a little shorter than my pencil. Super easy. That was it. Just one little short line. Mine may be 1 inch. Could be. I'm not going to measure it. I'm coming back with this mild red color. And this is where we're going to learn a lot about the utensils. The highlighter is really doing a lot of things for us. So I'm going to take this chisel tip and basically make a dash, or a parallelogram is the best way I can describe it. And I think that's the correct word. It's been a minute since I've been in school. So I want to have each end pretty much at the same angle. I went a little straight on that one, but let's see. We'll do this side. And I barely did a dash. I don't know if that's maybe 1/4 inch. That was it. This is a really good little, kind of a little filler doodle. If you notice, it's a good little filler doodle just to add something in some blank spaces. So it was pretty simple. Almost like confetti. I'm using the erasers basically like confetti. Now we're going to come in and do our books. You could do these up and down. You could do the same thing sideways. The only difference is at this moment, we're going to try to get 2 lines as close side by side instead of just the single lines that we did with these. We're just going to try to get 2. I think that's simple enough. Maybe. But if you don't get them exactly lined up, don't panic. It'll be fine. If you get gaps in between them, you want to try to get them edge to edge when you can. But if you end up with gaps, don't worry about it. We're fine. I'm going to come in with the blue and stagger it. You could do them all the way across the same height if you wanted to. This one is such a laid back, easy one. This is the hardest part to me right now with my thumb being bandaged up is trying to get my lines to stay pretty close to one another. See, there's a prime example. I have a gap, not going to sweat it. There we go. That was it. Same thing with the ruler. 2 lines across. I'm going to go lengthwise. Or, what would that be? Horizontal. So I made it a little bit longer. There we go. Nothing perfect. Now this is the fun part. This is where we come in and actually turn these just highlighter lines into something. And I'm just going to use this super cheap Dollar Tree, that ink brand. Can you see that? Maybe. That are like 10 in a pack at Dollar Tree. I love these things. I've used them all over this page. I don't know if you can see that. But I have decided that I really like these for doodling. Okay, so I'm going to come up here and I'm going to do 2 different ways. I'm going to show the nicely symmetrical way for those of you that like symmetry and have to have them all exactly the same. And then the other one we're just going to do just as crooked and wonky as we might happen to do. So this is one of my little weird quirks. My favorite straight edge is recycling a business card. I don't know why that is. I think it's because it's flexible. And then when I need a straight edge with a marker, if I use one of my plastic ones, a lot of times you end up with ink along this edge. And if you don't clean it every single time, that ink can run into your marker when you go to run it across there and bleed onto your page and mix in with whatever ink you were just trying to get straight. So the paper side of these business cards will soak a lot of that up. I don't know. It's use whatever straight edge you want to use if you need it to be symmetrical. This is a good way to clean up mistakes. So if you notice, that is not super even. It's a little wonky. I mean, let's be honest and real here. It's a little wonky. And this is where I can straighten it up some. So I can come to the outer edge there. And that's what I'm going to do. And run my line all the way down. And I'm going to try to do the same thing here. Come out to, usually I try to come out to somewhere to the edge of where my marker might have gotten out of alignment and clean it up a little. This is where it starts to come out in the wash, so to speak. So I went all the way down. Now, the best thing I could tell you that I found to try to keep your point in the middle is just kind of look and put your little dot, just so you know, because otherwise I keep getting them every time I try to freehand, and I'm going to show you maybe, there it is. Can you see that? When I try to freehand, I can't keep it centered, but it was still fine anyway. I think it's still pretty cute. But that makes it easier. I'm having problems picking up this business card now. That makes it easier to me to try to keep that point centered to my pencil a little better. If you can eyeball it and do it without doing all of this, good job. So that was really all I did there. And I just kind of scribbled in the point somewhere. So if you're in the need for some kind of symmetry, if you've got something that's got round on it, use your little round edge. And you'll see when I do just the less symmetrical, it goes really quickly. Plus, I'm telling y'all step by step. So right at those edges where those markers met, and I might have not done the best job bumping them together, those 3 different colors, now is a good way to clean up that look. As you can see, that made it a little neater. I'm going to come down here to this pencil tip and try to do the same thing where my yellow was. Simple enough. That one is very symmetrical. And you can see there are little white gaps. And I'm leaving them because now it looks like I might have added highlight to that. I'm not always, I have learned that some of my errors have created cute details. So with the pen, very, very similar. I'm going to do the same thing on this one. I'm going to try to clean these edges a little bit. I get all focused. This is weird for me to record. I usually do crafts. And sitting here drawing, I go into like this whole little, I don't know. I get real quiet like a little kid when they're drawing. So the edge, you can find something round and come around the edge. I did those 2 sides. I usually do the sides first, the longest sides first. I feel like that gives me a more even result with them. So both ends, I just try to do kind of a little curve there, like a C. I keep sliding out of focus. I'm sorry. So like a little letter C. This was no big one either. I came in and did the same thing for a cap. Probably about 1/3 of the way down. And then I just came out from the cap and added a little line. You could go in and throw a few other details in. You could put maybe a little click thing here, a little click button, and you might even put a tip on it. So super simple. You still get the idea of what it is. And it just took that one little blue line. Let's move on to the erasers. I'm going to do my best to describe this, and we're going to try to get really close. So hold on to your britches, because I want you to be able to see this, and I'm still learning how to film drawing. Okay, so what I did with the erasers is I'm using that almost diamond shape to guide me. And I came down. Can you see, like 2/3 of the way? And then right here, see that little dark shadow where I said our pen would help us in a lot of things? I started right there and came about 2/3 of the way down. Lined that top edge. I could have used a straight edge to help me get these better, but I felt like that might block it with as small as this is. So you can see it left kind of this outside area, and I just used the same shape to trace it out. If you wanted to, if you've got the room, you can always come in and add a little line there. And now, if you notice, where we lifted that marker gave us shadow. Even if you don't know how to do your own shadow. So, same with this. Ooh, I just got that super wonky. It's okay. And same thing even at this direction. You can kind of see. And that was all I did. And seriously, we just had little dash lines there before, but now it's like little filler confetti. None of them are perfect. Your brain still knows that those are meant to be little school erasers. I don't know what you call these. I just call them chunky erasers. I have one right next to me, but you know that that's what these guys are supposed to represent. Okay. The next one is the books. If you are the person that needs that symmetrical look, find you something round somewhere. I'm going to use a circle here and come up to the top of each of my books and give them a nice little circled top. And if you notice, this one right here is not even. I did not get those two even. Don't sweat it. Keep it there. It'll make it look like you did it on purpose, like some kind of highlight, I think. And even when you see printed things, because I worked for a newspaper for years, even when you see printed things, you can see print get out of alignment. So if you're doing it with your pens and markers, don't feel so bad. Even machinery can get it a little off. I'm coming in, and where I cross these, I'm trying to line it up in the best location to even that look out. This is if you're really particular about a little more on the perfection side. You can see this is where there's a gap. Most of that will end up being covered as I come in and do my outline. Like I said, it comes out in the wash. On the bottom, you can do the same thing. You can go with your round kind of stencil. And I'm in a weird position to see if I've got these lined up without getting my head down close. There we go. So that cleaned up quite a bit of it. I'm going to go in and do these edges. And then for your binding, your book binding, the same thing. You could use that rounded edge, that whatever you're using to get kind of a cleaner round edge. Go in and use it. So where did my circle go? There it is. So you can see I could go in and get those in perfect roundness as well. I'm just going to do a few because getting them aligned while on camera feels a little distressing. And maybe this video will only end up being handy for one person, and that's okay. But you can see that gives your more evenness, symmetry. I did go a little more symmetrical with some things in my planner on my back to school page, but other things I didn't. And here's what you'll see. Let me slide. See that little guy, that little pen? He is quite curvy. He is not symmetrical, but it almost looks like he is part of a cast that's dancing up my page. So some things I did go a little symmetrical, and some things I kept a little more whimsical. So you can really mix both if you want to. But there you go. Now you've got all of those evened out. Same thing with a ruler. Come in with your straight edge. The ruler is pretty self-explanatory. I didn't put a lot of, oops, where are we at? Let me get my alignment here. The ruler, I did not go super in detail with. I felt like you get the idea that it's a ruler. I'm going to try to clean up some of these lines. It's okay. There's a little bit of, oops, I've lost you again. If you look, there is some color gap here. I'm going to leave that. I'm just going to leave it. I'm not going to go in and try to fix it and put more color in there. The next thing I did was came in and put a little dot at the end, like you will see on a lot of the wooden rulers, and added some lines. I'm not going to sit and try to get every one of these lines symmetrical and make you watch that. But if you notice, this one I did less lines. That one I added even more notches. Both you still know are meant to be rulers. It was pretty simple. There you go. That's what it looks like with some symmetrical notches. Teachers, these are such a fun way, I think, to add a little oomph to your lesson plans, or use them as headers and dividers, just to fancy it up and have it be a little visually playful for yourself without having to put that much effort. So this is where it gets really faster and easier. Now I'm moving down to these lines, and I'm just going to do this freehand. You're going to see just how poorly I am with drawing a straight line, or how poor it goes for me. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to run with all these mistakes, and I think it will still be cute when I'm done. So the pencil, I still kind of keep the concept of fixing errors as I go if I've gotten it off too far astray, but I don't stress about it as much. So that's about as good as I get with a straight line. And that was about as good as I get with a straight line. I'm doing the same thing, trying to blend in those places. And you notice, see where that was off? Now it looks like I did some kind of intentional highlight. Still, I'm going to try to find my little center point here for my tip. And that is way more whimsical. It's way more playful than the more symmetric, but it's still cute. Pen, same thing. I didn't do too bad on that one. High five. There we go. The erasers would be no different on this one, since I didn't use a straight line on the other ones. It really wouldn't be any different. On here, I just would go in and fill those in. I'm going to do that really quick since you watched me freehand the other ones instead. We're going to move to the books. This was the fastest way I found if you're just wanting to do the books in the more wonky, whimsical way. On the bottom, I just came across and did it all in kind of one motion, and it helped me kind of even them out all the way across so that they looked fairly in alignment at the bottom. The top, obviously, I can't do that with, but that turned out all right. Now that gap that was in between there is no longer a big deal. That was simple enough. You can look, I'm out of lines. It's okay. It's still, the overall result is still cute. All the little imperfections just make it perfect. So I'm just going to scratch some lines across here. They're not perfect. You saw that. Totally not perfect. None of them are in any kind of alignment. Still cute. This is as messy as you can get. You still know that it's a cute little stack of books. It doesn't have to be perfect. There we go. I'm going to try to get that and keep it in alignment. This one I got pretty crooked. I don't know if I can straighten this out very well. Gosh, that wasn't too bad. I've got the opportunity to cheat right here at the moment because the dot grid on this page made that easier. But simple enough. None of those are perfect. You still know what they are, and they're still pretty cute. The last thing I want to talk about is adding shadows. And for me, I'm going to call shadows these things around here. And then shading is more when... See how it's a little darker in between those books? To me, that's more of the shading. I don't know the difference. Like I said, I'm not an artist. But that's the terms we're going to roll with. So we're going to work on shadows. This is where this tip comes in handy. Once again, I'm going to bring it up here to my pencil. And I angled it right about like this, down from the tip of my pencil. And I want to try to do this in one stroke. But guys, I am in a weird position. And this Band-Aid is still making it difficult. So in one swoop, and I came up a little soon, but it's okay. I'm not going to fret about it. Not bad. Same thing with my pen. I started down at the end and pulled up around. The erasers, oh no, I just went down one side of them with kind of the edge. And then went up the other side. My books, I did a little different. And you can kind of see, rather than just going down the side of them, or the bottom edge straight across, I brought this down. I tapered it in a hair. And I'm going to bring the entire width of this across the bottom of here. And then I twisted it a little. I spun it around. And you can see I've got to turn it a little bit so I can spin it a little more on this side. And I just drug it along, uneven and everything. And gave it a little shadow along the side and underneath. And let me show you that example down here. So there's a lot of imperfections in my work, but those create the perfect picture. I think it's kind of a good little metaphor for people, that all the little imperfections are what makes us pretty perfect. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just spinning it out a little, getting it a little jagged and crooked. On the ruler, same thing. I just used that kind of angled tip, run along the edge, and came up the side. Oops. And let's see if I can fix that. There we go. Close enough. Good enough for me. You can see in this one, you can see in all of these where sometimes the marker just does not line up, and now it's almost like an added little detail. I think that I'm a little, Different depending on the type of thing that I'm doodling. So when I'm working towards some realism, obviously I take a little more care. With this, part of the enjoyment of it was that it was playful and fun. And I decided in that playfulness, I would leave errors anywhere that they occurred. I would just leave them and enjoy them. And I thought it would bug me. And it turns out that it has been a learning experience, that it did come out cute, even with the mistakes, even with the errors. I still enjoyed the overall. I could go through my spread in my planner and point every single mistake, but overall, it's still a cute page. And that's kind of how we are. Lots of mistakes. Overall, humans, we're still pretty cute. So maybe you learned something, maybe you picked up something. Teachers, I hope you enjoyed this. I think this is something fun and fast when you don't have somebody explaining it to you once you've got the gist of it down. I think this is something that you could really do to add some playfulness to your planner, your lesson plans, to stationery, to whatever you want to personalize. It's a really quick, fast way. And the marker's really doing all the work for you. Not only that, but given the supplies that I used, a couple of highlighters and a ballpoint pen, those are something that you guys usually keep with you, I would think, at all times. So it's easy to just whip those out and pop these in place. I think they're cute. You guys let me know. Maybe you learned something. This is just a starting point. I want to share as I learn, because I'm learning in ways that are not necessarily artistic. I am learning in stubborn ways that somehow I'm going to get it and I'm just going to find a way. Might not be the right way, but I still get it done. Maybe I can help you get it done. And I plan to spend some more time with you guys if you'll spend some time with me. Talk to you soon. Hope you enjoyed it.